here and she'll show. Funshine, sunshine reading. I don't style. So, we were just going to do a cool Bears Brook corner, and then the sun came out, which was so glorious. It was actually cloudy, and then the sun came out, didn't it, baby? Yes, it did, and we're very happy about that, as you can see. I know. So, it's been so long since we've done one. Had some challenges, right? But here we are, close to the end of September, which is my favorite month. So I thought, let's do an autumn funshine sunshine reading. And I'm trying to do stuff that I really want to do now. What do I really want to do? And I'm trying to really look at that and work on that. And we've been talking a lot in my class about Abraham Maslow, who was a famous psychologist in the 60s. I don't know if he went into the 70s, maybe, but definitely the 60s, and all that sort of encounter movement and, group therapy stuff. Everybody was getting the idea, the me movement a little bit. But there were other people also doing things like humanistic therapy. There was Carl Rogers, who was such a glorious man, sort of like human potential, a kind of pre-law of attraction stuff, if you know what I mean. Although it always existed, most of us didn't know about it. I mean, I remember when I found out, I think it was 2007, when The Secret came out, was when I found out about all of that. Although I might have heard it before. It seemed like too much of a, like a dream or something, like a fantasy. It didn't seem like something that could actually happen. But it is, and it does. Right? So, kind of glorious. So I thought, if the sun goes, it goes. If it comes, it comes. But I thought we would do something about that. So I talk about his theory, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a lot in my classes, because it's just such a good theory. And it's the morning of Saturday morning. Again, so we're here hanging out. And I wanted to introduce to you a new member of the herd. As you may or may not know, I've been having a lot of challenges, but I've been healing too from all the trauma and stuff. So I thought, I need me a new stuffed animal. And I love Palominos with a passion, and Clydesdales. And so I don't know if this is an actual horse in reality, but in the Horse Wood and in Amazon, you can buy a Palomino who's also a Clydesdale. So I would like to introduce everybody to Phoenix. Phoenix, come on over. Okay, thank you. There he is, everybody. We're having to back up a little because he's kind of close to the camera. There he is. Hello, everyone. There he is, and see, he's got the little feet. So that makes him Clydesdale. There he is. Hey, you're in the sun. Yeah, there he is. Clydesdale in the sun. So that's Phoenix. So he might do some shows with us. Yeah. Come on, everybody. What do you think, Phoenix? What do you think about living with us? What do you think? Well, I think it's very wonderful. I'm enjoying it very much. Yeah, I'm like, where am I going? I don't know. But when the Amazon driver dropped me off, I was hanging out with my brothers before in a big bin. I know, that's what I thought. I thought maybe they'd have you guys in a big bin. So, yeah. And then you open me up from the plastic bag, and I'm like, where am I now? Where am I now? But I'm really enjoying it. Everybody's so friendly. And I met a horse friend. Yes, Canyon just absolutely loves Phoenix. Canyon just loves Phoenix. And we should bring Canyon on sometime. Canyon just loves Phoenix, too. So Canyon, of course, I bought at my wonderful Otter Co-op, which is a horse store. Yes, you would like it, Phoenix. You'd like it. It's kind of a horse store, country store kind of thing. It's really good. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your welcome. And, yeah, I'm just going to be here listening. Well, right on. Of course, Babe's here. We have Baby. You. Right on. He's Him and I are not relishing the coming of winter, so we're trying to soak up the sun. I'm gonna soak up the sun. Gonna tell everyone to lighten up, lighten up. Something. I can't remember the rest of it. But anyway, that's what we're doing. That was a good song from Sheryl Crow. Many, many moons ago. So we thought, why don't we try doing an adult, Bear's Book Corner? Because this is more of an adult theory book, but I got it from Amazon. Very exciting. It's all about the hierarchy of needs. Because as you guys may or may not know, I'm trying to get back into my academic study now as I'm healing up this brain injury that I got. Plenty of things happened. Plenty. So I'm hoping to heal that right up because, hello, big brain here. The light bulb in this oven is ridiculously bright. So now people try to dim it, no, it's bright and it's just beaming. So we're coming back to our academic ability a little bit. So, boom, a theory of human motivation. A psychological research that helped change the field for good. Abraham H. Maslow. There you go. Cute little book. And that's the back of it. And it basically is actually a research paper that he wrote because he was a psychologist. Where was he again? I'm not sure. One of the big universities. And he really changed the universe for good. And he has lots, he did, he wrote some books. He didn't write a lot of books, but, he wrote some. And I'm trying to see what else they have in this one. They have a lot of these hardback series. I just happen to like a good hardback book, And, so, well, let's see. Is it talking to us a little bit more about his life? Because I want to see that. I don't think it does, though. No, I don't think it's talking about his life. It starts right into the actual paper that he wrote. So, if you haven't heard of it, it's like a triangle, and it's all these needs, and how we have to, really have the base need, and then we can move up to the highest need, which is self-actualization. And so it's all about human potential and how we can be more than we are right now, which of course we all want to do. And so the idea is really the very first need, and unfortunately some of the people are struggling on this level. I was for many and many a day, where you're just trying to eat. You're just trying to find shelter. You're just trying to stay warm. That's kind of your survival needs. And I was there for a very long time until I was able to move up. And then, as we move up from that, then there's safety needs, right? So now, because if you can't eat, even safety isn't an issue, which is why so many people struggle in terrible relationships because they don't think they have the way to leave, and often they don't because their abusive partner sets it up that way. But, so, you need food more than you need safety, for example. But if you're able to leave, or if you're able to have it to begin with, then you're talking about safety, how you feel, good, you feel safe, you feel secure. Maybe you have enough money, maybe you have enough food, maybe you have a good place to live. Those things are essential for your mental well-being, because that's all you're going to think about, because of course that's all you're going to think about, because how could you? I know when I was not having a good place to live, that's all you could think about, so it was pretty hard to evolve when all you could think about is a good place to live. So, and I got a good place now. Took plenty of time. But, it's all about law of attraction too, which he didn't really know about, but he kind of talks about it in an indirect way, I think. I think he's using some of the same ideas, but he didn't know what it was. And so then there's love needs, because of course you can't really be thinking about love if, you don't even have a place to live. That's a good place to live. But say you do, then you want to think about, I want to think about love. I want to think about having someone to share my life with, right? Because it's very lonely if you don't have that to do. Like, and as Bear, my wonderful Bear, understands, I would very much like a human person to hang out with as well, a partner and a friend. So that's a big part of it, right? So that's love needs. And then when you feel like you've got love, then, you think, well, you know what? I want to be respected by people. I want people in the outer world to like what I do. Maybe it's at your job, maybe you write books, maybe you have kids, whatever it is, but that you are esteemed. You are esteemed in the outer world. Whether people are very happy with the work that you do, or happy with the books that you write, or whether your kids love you, or your external family is good to you, like your extended family. You want those things, right? And so you get those. And then, let's see, I think there's 5, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. And then, if you get all of that, you've got love, you've got esteem, you've got safety, you've got food, then you can start talking about some major self-actualization, which I believe he might have actually coined that word. It's kind of like self-enlightenment, self-evolution, and, the people that we might think of as having that might be, for example, an Elon Musk, because he's got everything else, and now he can just spend his days thinking about expanding his mind. Like his project, his projects into the, into space, and his spaceships. He's just doing that because he wants to do it. And he has the money. Right? So that kind of thing. Or somebody maybe who's a guru, who's gotten everything, a religious person maybe, and they just want to be closer to God. They just want to do things. Somebody who just wants to give back. So a philanthropist, whoever. Somebody that wants to focus on what they like because everything else is there. And that's the ultimate way. That's the ultimate path, I think. That's where we're all going. So Abraham was talking about all of this stuff, right? So it makes such a big difference in my life because I can see how I'm going up as well. And it doesn't mean that you don't come back up and down and stuff. It's not that kind of a stage theory, right? Like Freud, for example, had a very strict stage theory, which you probably didn't move. And I think Erik Erikson, whom I love, also had a stage theory that where you don't really go back up and down too often. But Maslow, yes, you could go because maybe you lose your job, but then you lose your security. So then you got to come back up again. So it's kind of like stairs or a ladder, right? You might go up and down depending, on the fortunes of your existence. And what happens. But as long as you're aware of it, you can keep, going. Okay, I'm gonna go back up again. I'm gonna do this again. So that's something that we do, kind of, I think, the whole of our lives. So I thought that it was a valuable thing to share with y'all, all y'all. So there it is, theory of human motivation. So what we thought we would just look at is just read a little bit. There are no pictures, but we would read a little bit about that. And he kind of has an introduction, but I don't know how I'm going to read the introduction for you guys because I think that would make a lot of sense. I'm going to read the summary because I think the summary is actually a little bit better and it explains the theory pretty well. And it's not very long, so we're going to do that. Woohoo, Sonny! We're going to do that. So there are 5 sets of goals, as I said, which we may call basic needs. They are briefly psychological or physiological, so eating, drinking, safety, love, esteem, and self-actualization. In addition, we are motivated by the desire to achieve or maintain the various conditions upon which these basic satisfactions rest, and by certain more intellectual desires. These basic goals are related to each other, being arranged in a hierarchy of prepotency. That's a big word. This means that the most prepotent goal will monopolize consciousness. So like I said, if you can't eat, nothing else matters. If you can't breathe, nothing else matters. Right? And will tend itself to organize the recruitment of the various capacities of the organism. The less prepotent needs are minimized, even forgotten or denied. But when a need is fairly well satisfied, the next prepotent higher need emerges, in turn to dominate the conscious life and to serve as a center of organization of behavior, since gratified needs are not active motivators. So, for example, if you have something, then you don't miss it. It's why people who aren't hungry don't worry about being hungry, because they're not hungry. People who have a good home don't worry about a home. They have a good home. They think about the things that they don't have, right? So that's kind of where we all are. Thus, man is perpetually a wanting animal, which I would say is somewhat true, although I don't call us animals, obviously, being a very big Jesus person, but I don't know if he was quite religious, being a scientist, although he might have been. And of course, he doesn't just mean man. It was just the way people talked back then. Yeah, it was kind of stupid. But, it was the way, because it was only really men doing a lot of the work. So they picked themselves, which it wasn't the best thing to do. But they actually do mean people. That's what they mean. Ordinarily, the satisfaction of these wants is not altogether mutually exclusive, only tends to be. The average member of our society is most often partially satisfied and partially unsatisfied in all of his wants. The hierarchy principle is usually empirically observed in terms of increasing percentages of non-satisfaction as we go up the hierarchy. Reversals of the average order of the hierarchy are sometimes observed. Also, it has been observed that an individual may permanently lose the higher wants in the hierarchy under special conditions. There are not only ordinarily multiple motivations for usual behavior, but in addition, many determinants other than motives. Any thwarting or possibility of thwarting of these basic goals, or danger to the defenses which protect them, or to the conditions upon which they rest, is considered to be a psychological threat. With a few exceptions, all psychopathology may be partially traced to such threats. A basically thwarted man may actually be defined as a sick man if we wish, which is an interesting point to make, because people infringe on other people's rights. Now, often this is a person who is not getting their needs met and thereby is kind of injuring other people because they're not getting what they want. Now, they shouldn't be doing it, but that is something that people will do. They'll take advantage of other people or something if their needs aren't met. But it's not right, but it's something that people have done. As we may have seen in my other videos, my mother did it all the time, right? Plenty of times, and so did a lot of other people. So that's kind of what he's saying, that it's kind of usually unmet needs in a way is part of the reason why someone might act that way, although we know not every reason clearly. In such basic threats which bring about the general emergency reaction, like for example, if suddenly you did, lose something, you would be very frightened about it, right? If you did have your house, taken away from you, that would be frightening. If you did all of a sudden be kidnapped and thus you didn't even have your own thing, that would be frightening, right? So that's kind of what he's talking about. But it also works the other way. Say you had something wonderful happen, like you got a new job, which means you had way more money. That would be empowering, right? You would feel better about that. You would feel good about that. Like suddenly you had money to pay for everything and more besides. Then you'd feel good, right? So that's kind of what he's talking about. Certain other basic problems have not been dealt with because of limitations of space. So that's what he's talking about. Among these are A, the problem of values in any definitive motivation theory, and B, the relation between appetites, desires, needs, and what is good for the organism. The etiology, which just means origin of disease, of the basic needs and their possible derivation in early childhood D, redefinition of motivational concepts. Oh, hang on. Drink break. I.e., drive, desire, wish, need, goal. E, implication of our theory for hedonistic theory. F, the nature of the uncompleted act, of success and failure, and of aspiration level. The role of association, habit, and conditioning. H, relation to the theory of interpersonal relations. I, implications for psychotherapy, implications for theory of society. K, the theory of selfishness. L, the relation between needs and cultural patterns. And M, the relation between this theory and Allport. I think his name was Gordon. He was a psychologist. Gordon Allport's theory of functional autonomy. These, as well as certain other less important questions, must be considered as motivation theory attempts to become definitive. So again, back then, motivation theory was not terribly definitive. It was a new theory. It was a theory that he originated. And it's so funny to think now in 2023 that it's so prevalent that, was there ever a time when it didn't exist? But there really was a time when it didn't exist. And this was sort of coming back for that. It's first published in 1943. So let's read the back, people. First published in 1943, A Theory of Human Motivation is an article by Abraham H. Maslow, an American psychologist, in which he first introduced his hierarchy of needs, a theory of psychological health predicated on fulfilling inherent human needs in preference. I need to do more writing because this is crazy. Pinnacly in self-actualization. Maslow thereafter expanded the idea to include his observations of humans' inherent curiosity. His theories parallel many other theories of human developmental psychology, some of which concentrate on describing the stages of growth in humans, which I was mentioning before, if you remember. Maslow explained various needs and used the terms physiological, safety, belongingness, love, esteem, self-actualization, and then there's a new one called self-transcendence that he added, but it's not considered really part of the canon, so I didn't add it. But that say you have self-actualization, then you can push even further up to the more esoteric or the more spiritual or metaphysical ideas of life. Hence the self-transcendent, the self-transcendent experience, to define the pattern that human motivations generally move through. Maslow studied what he called ideal people, such as Albert Einstein, Jane Addams, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Frederick Douglass, rather than mentally sick or unstable people. So he wasn't a psychologist in the sense of studying mentally ill people the way some other people were, like Freud or Erikson. He was sort of part of human potential. He wanted to study what makes people well, who are well people, what do well people do, which I think is a very useful thing to study as well, because that's where we all want to be, right? We all want to be there. So that is my first, and there might be many, adult sunshine theory. Theory, because it's a theory. We probably can talk about theory books. But, also just an enjoyable video and an enjoyable time. And I don't know, it's autumn, so I'm not sure if we're going to have any more sunshine readings, but we might. I know Bear really enjoys them, and so do I. So we hope you have a wonderful Saturday morning, and we'll say bye, everybody. Bye-bye, everybody.